Jasmine, finally we're meeting here. How are you?
Great. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm super great. I think that this is the fifth episode of the Agility Enablers season 2, and we're working with leaders and people like you who help leaders grow. So this is fantastic to have you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Why?
Well, this is the 5th episode of season 2.
Yeah. Well, when we keep going, it's fun. It's amazing to have the opportunity to connect with people like you. So
thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. Jasmine, could you help us navigate through the highlights of your journey? How do you get there? Right here.
Oh, so how did I get here?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the highlights. I have been leading people and teams for over 20 years. So I'm not that young. I've been a leader for a long, long time. I've kind of graduated through these different roles of leadership. Probably one of the most impactful kind of areas of my growth, I guess, was when I worked in the credit union system. So I worked as a project leader and then as a VP of member services, so overseeing the branches and ag and commercial lending. And then I moved into strategy, so I was the VP of strategic initiatives, and I adopted IT along the way. So my background is sociology, and I ended up as a leader over and over and over in these different roles that I was in. I learned to coach along the way. So in about, I think 2006 was my first intro to coaching. So I used that a lot. When I was VP at the credit union, I tried to take a real coach approach to leadership, which I didn't even really know what that meant. You're learning on the fly, right? You're learning as you go. So I did a lot of development in my leadership skills when I worked for the credit unions, just through accumulating responsibility, right? As you're getting responsibility, you need to develop new skills and try to find your way and find what's working. And then after the credit unions, I was starting to really get, the feeling that I needed to move on to something different. I had discovered Agile, and, there just wasn't quite the level of readiness at that time to move into more Agile ways of working. So I had, talked to my counterparts, talked to my boss at the time, and had, said, like, you know what, I think I'm going to move on. If I come back, that's great. I'm going to move on for now because I really want to focus on Agile and Agile ways of working. So I was working a lot at the time and I needed a break. I needed to get more into an operational role. So that's what I did. I decided to make a, completely sideways move. And I started working for another organization, and I went in as a PM. So I went in as a project manager into a more kind of an Agile, starting an Agile transformation organization. And then within, within a few months, I had the Scrum Masters were reporting to me. And then soon after that, I had the software development team that started to report to me. And I knew nothing about software development, nothing. Zero. And I told them when I kind of inherited them from the other leaders that I never intend to write a line of code in my entire life. So we're going to have to figure this out. And I will learn to ask you excellent questions so that I can lead this team. So we were working in an Agile way, and I was starting to bump up against the organization a little bit, as anyone does who goes through the Agile ways of working, right? So I started to bump up against the organization, and I knew that I had to develop my leadership again, even more. So I found Agile leadership. I took a class with Pete Behrens at the time. That was a few years ago. So through practice, I transformed the way that I was leading the team, and they transformed around me. The engagement scores went through the roof, the productivity, the delivery, the value the team was producing. All of that started, kind of really exponentially increasing, and they were transforming each other, themselves and each other. It was awesome to see. So from there, I was thinking, I don't know how, but I need to bring that to the world. So that's what I did. I left my corporate jobs and all of that and started my business. And so here I am today.
Wow. Oh, it's an amazing journey, Jasmine. Thank you for sharing that. A lot of curiosity here. So
go ahead.
When you did, first of all, you come from your background is sociology. Is that it?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How come a sociologist become an agile leadership with its own business? I don't get it. Could you help me out?
So you know what? It's funny, but sociology is all about people and groups and how people interact and how things work together. And I can tell you that I loved the last team that I worked with. They're the best team ever. And I can tell you that I use sociology every single day in that role, right? You're trying to have people fit together and trying to figure things out, and everybody is, like working on the squiggly line and trying to find their way to the outcomes we're trying to produce. So sociology and tech is a weird fit, but I can tell you that in my business today, when I'm doing, I'm doing a lot of coaching of high-performing leaders, that helps every single day just to have that kind of grounded understanding, right?
So instead of being it is not a weird fit. It's maybe myself who hasn't been trained in sociology, who should be doing that, right?
It is. It's I don't know. It's kind of the base grounding for a lot of different things for me. Yeah.
Wow. And Jasmine, one of the things that you mentioned was a shift that you saw once that you started working with this thing after the training that you got, and what did you saw and what changed on yourself?
So after I went through and I learned about agile leadership and how to develop your leadership in different ways, I saw myself differently. So I could see how I was leading and how I was actually kind of a bottleneck, although I didn't want to admit it at the time. I was a bit of a bottleneck for the teams, right? So when the decisions have to come through you, the leader, and when you're kind of driving the bus, everybody has to hop on, then the team can't ever be any faster than you, right? If everything comes through you, the team, you're the limiting factor to the speed of the team. So what I discovered, and I've discovered this many times in my life, is, you get in your own way. So you have to get out of the way for the team to succeed, for the team to grow. And that's what more agility in your leadership gives you. It gives you the ability to take a different seat at the table, to work with the team, to figure things out, to, still drive hard when you need to and step back when you need to. It just gives you more range, I guess, of skills to be able to move things forward.
It's interesting that you said that, but you might have a more experience than I do about that, but it could be kind of difficult to tell yourself, I need to get out of the way as a leader. So I don't know, what made you decide that or realize that, okay, I need to get out of the way?
Yeah, I think it was just, what I do with my clients and what I teach when I teach the Agile Leadership Education is small experiments. So this is a little bit like your Agile ways of working, but on yourself. So for me, it's all about like, what are the small experiments that you're going to do to continue to grow? What can you try just to see if that works for the team? See what they reflect back to you. See, you know, try on some different clothes and see how that works and see if that makes sense or not. And tell people that you're practicing. So that's what I did too, right? I'm going to try some different things. I've learned some different ways, and let's try it out and see if it works. And then you know, wear that for a little bit, try that. Oh yeah, this is working. This is good. The feedback, or, you know, feedback from the team is good. Keep going, try different things. Some things work, and then some things were like, oh man, wow, that was terrible. You know, some things don't fit with you, like the person, right? So you have these moments where you're like, yeah, so I just looked like a total idiot there because like that wasn't me. You know, like, would I ever say, wow, that's amazing, I have never done that before? No. So you have to try those things on, see what works for you. You have to be you through the whole evolution. So tiny steps.
So basically tiny steps on yourself.
Yeah.
So you know, that brought me to the next question. You know, I imagine that it might be challenging doing that first. Like, how, you know, do you realize, okay, I need to move to something else as a leader first? So being conscious enough to, okay, I'm gonna jump and I'll try something, even if I look like not as well as I expect to look like. And the other thing is like, okay, let's give me a chance to give it a try. So did I get it right? So it requires a kind of a self-awareness. And I'm kind of curious, in your case, what were the challenges that you face before, you know, deciding, okay, I'm aware that I need to change?
Yeah. So for me, what I started to notice was, you know, just like the challenges with the team in helping them effectively move forward. So I was trying to drive the bus, but I needed the team to also drive the bus. And then I couldn't kind of figure out, okay, how do I, you know, get out of the way? Like, what do I need to do instead? So I was just trying to kind of fight through that. Okay, what do I need to do instead? Like, how do I lead effectively? Because the world is telling you, you need to have the plan. You need to you need to enable the team to achieve your strategy, whatever that is, right? There's nobody out there who's telling you, like, go figure it out with the team and make it up and see what works and see what doesn't. That's not our view of leadership, as someone who can make mistakes and try stuff and fall down, and that's not typical, right? So you kind of feel like you have to have all the weight in your own backpack. At the same time, the team is trying to take some of the weight out of your backpack, and there's this weird struggle. So it's, you know, again, back to the small steps. Like, okay, what do I do? What do I try here?
So it feels kind of hard, but at the same time, you know, leaders are under pressure. You need to deliver, and you cannot do it by yourself. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and the higher up you go in the organization, the more lonely it is. You know, there's like less truth. There's like less, you know, less ability to be tight with the team. There's all these different things that are hard, right? So when you start learning that you can share that weight in different ways and you can co-create with the team, and, you know, you can actually kind of still challenge and agitate the team and get them thinking and working on hard things. And you can also take a different seat, and you can also give some of the weight that's in your backpack. Then it starts to be freeing. You start to see momentum in the team.
So you mentioned some really good stuff here, like sharing with others, like what you are carrying. Also, like, you know, taking a different seat. Like, okay, now I have probably more time. I'm seeing things from another perspective, maybe be more strategic instead of more tactic. Like, and I wonder, how does that connect with your values as a person?
Great question. So for me, I love to see people grow. So I am like a challenger grower of people. So as a coach, people will often use the word challenging to describe me as a coach in a good way, mostly. So I love to see people grow past their own expectations. So that's what, you know, being this kind of leader is as well, right? Growing people. Courage, being courageous is one of my strong values. So it takes a lot of courage to experiment, to make mistakes, to see the team fail, to see yourself fail, then to see people succeed or to try new things, to go kind of against the grain a little bit. And then I think third is probably adventure. I love adventure. And so this is like carving it out, right? You're kind of carving out a path and finding your way. So those are the three things I really connect to.
And thank you, Jasmine. You know what? There's a lot of questions popping up. So, but I want to go with this one. It's you were successfully working with a team that, you know, you were able to, you know, use your sociology background and melt it together with the agile mindset, put that into practice with coaching, you know, get into this training about agile leadership, and then put that up together and put it on, you know, into practice with a team.
Yep.
And go through it. And after that, you decide to move on and build a business. So I'm curious about, you know, what motivated you to, you know, put this aside and said, okay, this is successful, but I wanted to do this. I'm just curious about it.
Yeah, you know, the biggest factor for me there was that what I learned and then what I applied and how I applied it and experimented through it was transformational for me as a person, as a leader, and for the people around me. It was also transformational for them, and I could see that. So my decision to go was more about my drive to make a bigger impact.
Okay.
I wanted to share with other people so that other leaders could also succeed in that way and, you know, kind of open up their view to a new way of leading and potentially lead other, lead their own teams in that way too, so that they could feel that kind of reward that I had got from doing that differently.
How do you see that? Like, you know, now you have clients. I know that you are delivering a training to leaders. You support them, you help them grow. How do you see that bigger impact in play?
Yeah, so I see it every day, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. So what I do is, so there's kind of two aspects of my business. So one is coaching. So I do quite a bit of coaching with high-performing leaders. So that's, you know, CEOs and C-suite, to help them really kind of achieve the possibilities, bring the possibilities into the present. And on the other side, I do a lot of like agile leadership education. So I teach leaders how to develop those skills to be more adaptive themselves in their leadership. And so as I'm doing those classes, people are practicing. So I give them a little bit of space between the classes so that they can practice and then come back and practice and come back. So they actually learn it. Not just like, you know, you're sitting in a class for 2 days or something and you just get bombarded by a whole bunch of information, and 2 days later, 80% of it is like gonzo. So we practice, learn, practice, learn, practice, learn. And even between sessions, I see them come back and they're telling me, hey, I tried this with my team and like it actually worked. And it's only my first or second practice. So I was totally skeptical. I told the person before we were going to have this conversation that I thought it might be completely, you know, it might completely bomb. But I told them I was going to try something new and like it actually worked. So I get those kinds of comments throughout as I'm teaching. And I probably got the best comment I've ever got a couple weeks ago. It was a compliance manager, so a very, very technical person. And he said at the end of our class, at the end of our sessions, 4 in this case, he had said, I just want to say that this was the first time in my 20-year career that I have attended leadership training that I was excited to go and apply.
Wow.
Yes!
Fantastic.
Like a big yes for your team and for the
Yeah.
organization. So it's so fun to see people, have the light bulb go off, like, oh, wait a second, how am I actually showing up? Okay, how do I want to show up in order to help the team actually accelerate and deliver more value? Not just pretend let's hug and whatever, but actually deliver better than they are today.
So it is, Jasmine, and help me out here. So it is all about, I'm trying to put it together, but it's kind of, okay, I am a leader. I am responsible for myself, for my own self-growing. If I work on myself and I step back and I take time on myself and I apply this mindset to myself, I take this learning practice method and I put it out there. I stay humble. So
yeah.
So it's kind of more like what works. It's having people become better human beings.
Yes, exactly. And then what happens is, I believe strongly that the team reflects the leader. So as the leader begins to change, the team's behavior also begins to change. That's why it's super important to take tiny steps. Otherwise, people are like, whoa, who are you? Like, what's going on? Bring the old Jasmine back.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to take tiny steps. But in taking those tiny steps and having a different conversation today and having a different conversation tomorrow and asking a question rather than, doing something differently the next day, in doing that, the team's behavior starts to change and starts to mirror you as well.
I wonder, thank you for it. You make me think about my own situations with some clients, but help me out here, Jasmine. The way that you speak about it makes your eyes, light up. So I know that it passions you. I would love to know, what are the challenges that you face when doing this kind of a job?
Yeah. So the challenges, so clarify for me, do you want to know the challenges that I have faced as a leader growing into this, or the challenges that I face now in
it could
delivering
be both,
this?
because, so you have the experience as a leader, and now you have the experience as an educator and as a coach. So both might be interesting for the audience. So, whatever you decide to do.
Sure. So the challenges that I faced in learning this and practicing it and developing into it, there were many, and at the same time, I could always see progress. So it kind of kept me going. So some of the challenges were, how do I experiment with this? How do I be courageous and experiment with this with the team when the team is thinking, you're the leader. Aren't you supposed to know the answer? Why are you, not just telling us what to do? So there's some of those challenges, right, where you have to take smaller steps to help the team catch up, to help the team walk with you rather than you, pulling them along the way. So that was a challenge at first, was, okay, I know what I want to do. How do I take small enough steps so that I'm walking with people? And that's what I see the challenges are for the leaders too, that I work through this with. Similar idea. They're like, wow, awesome, let's go. No, stop. Don't do it. This is going to be a fad diet. You can't do it, okay? Slow her down. What's the tiny experiment that you can do tomorrow? That's it. So those are some of the challenges. The challenges I have today, I think, are, the organization and how supportive the organization is to support these leaders who want to lead differently. you know, sometimes you'll have a leader who wants to develop and who understands this, and, you know, the fire clicks when they're in this class, and then they go back to an organization where it's super command and control. Here are the rules. Here are the 17 levels of approval you need on this decision. You don't get to do that. Who are you to decide? So they have this kind of culture in the organization, and then they're kind of trapped, or they feel a little bit trapped in there. And pretty soon they're, you know, working with their team. So within the bubble of their team, they're leading differently. They can, you know, experiment, and then they continue to have this like friction with the organization. So sometimes that's a challenge. And then in other organizations, I'll see them take everybody, like right through to the CEO. Everybody will come through, and then they'll start having different conversations as an organization. So there's like incredible momentum. So it just kind of depends. You have to find a buddy that you can help you with practice in or outside your organization.
So it's basically, it's not only, okay, I want to change, I am self-aware. So that is like first step. It's also like, okay, do I have the environment and the support that I need to put this into practice in a daily basis? So then I can fail fast and then, you know, learn from those fails. It requires that support. That's what I'm here.
Yeah, you can do it in an organization.
Oh, yeah.
Any leader can do this. It's harder when, you know, when you're feeling the weight of the organization on top of you. It's harder. You can still do it. You can still make that happen and, you know, move things forward and really make a different impact with the team, no matter what. It just depends how far you can stretch that, how much support you have from the organization and your peers.
Well, you know, I could be talking about it like for years with you. It's so easy to hear from you. Thank you, Jasmine, to put it so simple. It is sometimes complicated for us to make it, you know, visible to leaders how simple it is, even if it is really hard to put it into practice.
Yeah.
But you make it simple, and thank you for that. So just to manage the time that we have left, we have 5 minutes more. So you know, time flies. It's sad, but it is what it is. So I wanted to explore with you, Jasmine, for a leader that is watching this interview. Yeah, you know, he listens to you, he watched this, and he said, well, Jasmine is now training people. He went through it. She went through it. She was a leader. She might know about this, but, you know, they don't have the courage to just knock your door and, you know, take the first step. What would you recommend them?
You know what? I think developing your agility as a leader is all about developing courage as well. So people need to be courageous and take that first step. If you're interested in thinking and you want to develop your leadership further, that is a first step, is to connect, to, you know, do some reading on your own on these topics, to connect with other people, because other people, so people like me who are doing this work, we answer questions every day. Like every day I'm answering questions and helping people try to find their way and figure it out. There's kind of communities now of people who are on the journey, really. So others can also help you. But I would say, you know, courage is a big component of doing this. And the first step is to take the first step.
So the first step is like, okay, let's do something to make it happen.
Let's connect. Yeah, let's connect. Yeah. Let's ask a question. Let's, you know, whatever that is. Yeah.
And Jasmine, I'm wondering, by listening to you, you are a really passionate person and really charismatic. So what are your superpowers? Did you have you identified that? Just to go through this, you know, that you said so simple, yeah. It seems like seamless, but I know that you work hard to get it express in the way that you do it. So what superpowers all that?
Yeah, I think that superpowers come from where you've been. So I've been a leader, so teaching this as a leader is different because I've been in that seat. So I think superpowers come from where you've been, and they also come from, you know, where you want to go. So for me, the superpowers that I think that I have are creating clarity. So creating, you know, making something complex more simple to enable people to move forward. And also the superpower that I have and I continue to develop is bringing the possibilities from the future into the present.
Wow.
So let's take those, bring them here, and let's go do it.
Wow, bring into possibilities from the future to the present. With that note, Jasmine, I wanted to thank you for your the charismatic way of simplifying what is really complicated and make it, you know, making a huge impact on the leadership community, helping people that are helping others to be better. I want to thank you for the efforts that you put into this and for, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone and becoming the leader and example that you have become. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you so much. It was great to chat with you.
Well, you know, before leaving, I wanted to ask you, how was it? Because, you know, before having the interview, you know, I wanted for people to witness this. You know, how was it for you, the experience?
So before the interview, I was nervous. Because another thing that I need to get better at is video. And now I feel great. You know what? I had to overcome my terror of public speaking in order to have my business. So I try to view these things as, oh, this fear is actually excitement. This is exciting, and my body is just getting me ready for this really exciting adventure.
Wow.
So well, it was great.
That's awesome. So with that comment, Jasmine, I wish we cross paths here in Canada or elsewhere. You are physically where right now?
Just outside of Saskatoon, and I do almost everything virtually. So virtual or in person, whenever that happens again.
So everyone can get access to you and your services.
Yep.
So how do you,
exactly.
Get people to connect with you? What is the best way to reach out?
Probably just to connect on LinkedIn and like send me a message and ask a question. So
you are Jasmine. Please repeat your last name because, you know, you said better than I do.
Kernaleguen.
Kernaleguen. So
K-E-R. Kernaleguen.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Put it, you know, down here. So I wish we can meet together soon, Jasmine.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.